Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Hello and welcome to Spiritually Wired. I'm Renée Walker, your host, and this episode is scheduled to be released on my birthday. I am turning 49. I'm not someone to really put too much emphasis on age because I do believe that age is just a number. However, it does feel somewhat significant that it is my last year in my 40s, and there is a sense of wanting to finish off this decade on a high, maybe is the right word. So I thought I'd share with you some of the lessons that really had an impact on me, on who I am today. And let's just say that it's not really easy to come up with a few because there's been so many, but I am going to give it a try. The number one lesson is something that I read in Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. If you haven't read this book, I highly recommend it because it really was very impactful for me. I remember the first time, though, not being able to finish it. So if you struggled with it, you're not alone. It took a few attempts, and then I just fully was able to get into it. But I obviously, at that point, had also grown to a place where I felt I was resonating with the message, or I was ready for it. Anyhow, the message is, you are not your thoughts. Simple message. However, that understanding that you are not your thoughts, that you are the space in between your thoughts, is quite life-changing. So much of the suffering that we encounter, and I know for me personally, so much of the suffering has been identifying with my thoughts, believing my thoughts to be real, to be fact, when in fact, all they are thoughts. So really understanding, and this is a new level of, I feel like anything when it comes to healing, we're always kind of going deeper and deeper. But the awareness that you are not your thoughts, you are the space in between your thoughts. You are not your emotions either. You are not fear. You are the experiencer of fear. You are not sadness. You are the experiencer of sadness. That is such a different perspective. And when we can detach from the emotion itself, from the thought itself, that is when we start to really experience true inner freedom, because we are no longer a slave to our thoughts or to our emotions. We are now empowered, realizing that we are so much more. So you are not your thoughts has been a big lesson for me. The other one is that healing is more about releasing, about healing back, about allowing, than it is about doing anything else. It is not about going to find confidence. It is about really coming back to the confidence that is already within you. It's the recognizing that you are love, that you are peace, that you are light, that you are power. There is nothing that you need that is outside of you. It is already there. And that was a big shift. I feel like for the first part of my life, probably up until my late 30s, I was really feeling that I needed to go find myself out there, as opposed to really recognizing that it was really only about coming back to who I was. And part of why I fell in love with meditation was when I heard it described as meditation being a practice of remembering, of just remembering who you are and giving yourself the space, the compassion, the kindness to actually be with who you are. And that was a big shift because I wasn't used to that. I was used to being the doer and looking outside and trying to fix and trying to accomplish. And when I was able to let go of the need to go find anything outside and to really recognize that my power was right here within me, it just opened up so much. It really is about tapping into that space that already is. It's about allowing for that flow of energy within. So that was a big one. Another lesson that I've had is to choose your battles. Now, my kids are adults now, and I remember probably when they were kind of like pre-teenage years, things started to change. If you're a parent to kids of that age, you know, right? It's always an interesting time. And I remember stuff happening and it would trigger me. And I was the type of parent, let's just say my nervous system was far from being regulated back in the day. And I would have these freakouts. And one friend of mine who had kids that were older, she's like, Renee, the best advice I can give you is to choose your battles. If you start freaking out whenever something happens, your kids are going to stop coming to you, because now they're going to know that whenever something isn't perfect or whenever there's potential for you being upset, that you will be upset. And so they're going to stop coming to you. So choose your battles, choose your freakouts, if you will. And I really took that to heart. And I began to be very intentional. So when things would happen, I would feel triggered, but then I would take a moment and be like, is this a battle am I choosing this battle? Is a messy room right now the battle that I want to have with my kid, or is the connection with them more important? So it was a really impactful lesson that I've carried with me also in my relationship with my husband. He says his thing is like, is this the hill that you're ready to die on? And now we joke and we kind of say it to each other, but it just brings back into perspective. Sometimes it's just small things and it's not worth the tension that it can create. So being intentional with bringing your energy to what matters and letting the other stuff go. Actually, I heard Mel Robbins on her podcast, and it's sort of similar to this. She calls it the let them theory. And it's similar to that. It's like recognizing what you can control and what you can't control, and bringing your energy to what you can control, and beyond that, what is actually important to you, and also the health of the relationship above all else. So it's like I can be right in the moment, or I can actually do what is right for the relationship in the long term. So bringing awareness to the distinction between those two things. So choose your battles. Another lesson that has been a real, I'd say this is one that I'm always working on, but is that your energy is your greatest asset. So you can see if you're looking at this video right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you can't see my background, but in my office, I have so many books, and I have so many books on time management. I am someone who's read most of them. I get very excited about the idea of managing time. That was before. And then I learned that it was less about managing time and more about learning to manage my energy and recognizing when I had the most energy. What environment actually gives me the most energy? Who are the people in my life that actually give me more energy? That when I'm with them, I leave and I feel just more energized. And who are maybe the people that I feel less energized? Bringing awareness to, the foods that I eat, where it used to be more about, clean eating and diets and losing weight and all of that stuff, where now it's like, what are the foods that energize me? And that feels very different, because now it's not about eating a food that has sugar or fat or calories. I'm looking at what are the foods that are actually energizing me, the activities in my life that energize me, versus the foods, the people, the activities that drain me. So shifting to looking at energy as being my greatest asset has really helped me personally in being able to prioritize my wellness in a way that feels good. So it doesn't feel like I am restrictive, but I'm actually doing it in a way to energize me. And that makes me really happy, because the more energy I have, the more I get to show up in life, the more I get to bring to my business, the more I get to bring into my relationships. And I did say at the beginning that this is something that I'm working on, because it is constantly evolving, and I have times in my life where maybe I'm a little bit better at choosing things that energize me, and there are other times in my life where I maybe not do as well, and that's okay, because we're human. But having a focus on, is this energizing or is this draining, really has helped me. And I would say as well that another lesson that's been powerful, and that started, years ago, but it is that what's meant for you can't miss you. And to me, this is when we speak of the essence of this podcast of being spiritually wired, it's like when you believe in this connection that you have with a higher power, with the universe, then it just allows you to be able to surrender so much. You recognize that you don't have to go upstream. Abraham Hicks, love Abraham Hicks, and they speak of like you're either going upstream or you're going downstream. And it's a choice that we make to either go upstream or downstream. So do we have to take action towards what it is that we want to create and invite in our life? Absolutely. However, when you have a fundamental belief that what's meant for you can't miss you, then it just invites another level of trust, where you can be working towards something, but also knowing that if it's meant for you, it's going to happen. And if it's not meant for you, or if it doesn't happen, it's because it's not meant for you. And maybe that's because there's something even greater that is meant for you. So all of the setbacks that we experience in life are actually setting us up for something else. I used to see setbacks as being failures, and now I've so been able to shift my perspective around setbacks and see them as, okay, this was just, it wasn't meant to be in this moment. And every setback, when you have the gift of perspective, you can see that either it was teaching you a lesson or it was just guiding you somewhere else, because that somewhere else is where you needed to be in that moment. So that level of fully trusting that what is meant for me will come, and it will come in that perfect divine timing. I was listening to a book with Bob Proctor, and I love how, he says when it comes to a baby, right, there's a certain gestation period in the womb, and the seed for a vegetable, there's a certain gestation period. But when it comes to a spiritual intention, when it comes to goals, when it comes to your purpose, a dream that you have, there's no set period of time. There's no set gestation period where it's like, oh, if you work at it for this long, that's going to happen. All we can do is connect to our intuition, to create the environment, the space, so that we're tuning in, we're listening, we are showing up from a place of inspiration, from a place of connection, of love. And then the rest of it we can't control. That's the part of it that we need to just surrender and trust. That is all unfolding for your highest and best and in perfect divine timing. So these are some of the lessons that I've found to be really impactful, and something tells me there's probably going to be a part 2 to this. I hope that this episode serves you. I want to remind you that you are always spiritually wired for your dreams. And until next time, this is Spiritually Wired. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at ReneeWalkerWellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.